What up, man?
How you doing?
Good, man. How you been?
Good.
Good to hear.
Good. All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Footy and Coffee Conversations. You got your coffee?
Always. Dude, I got special roast for this one. It's a little
What? Yeah.
local coffee shop, Velo Coffee Shop down here in Chattanooga. And this specific brand is predominantly farmed and produced by women in Colombia. So,
Oh,
kind of
very
unique.
cool.
Yeah. Brought out a
Is it
special one for you.
is it a dark roast or what?
It is kind of like a little medium type roast. So, yeah,
Okay.
not too bad.
Drinking it just straight black?
Of course. You got to.
Good.
Proper
Good,
flavor.
man. Love it. Love it. All
Oh,
right, man. To get started, if you just want to introduce yourself, say your name, where you're playing right now, currently, what position you are, that type of thing.
All right. My name's Brian Bement. I'm a forward, and I'm currently playing for Chattanooga FC in Nisa.
Very good. That's a new league. Talk a little bit just about what that league is for people who don't know.
So essentially, it's a bunch of independent clubs formed actually similarly to how NASL was, kind of the same idea. But yeah, it's a new league right now. There's 8 teams, I believe, but there's supposed to be 10 coming up in the fall for that second half of the season. But yeah, no, it's exciting because most of the teams are kind of city-owned. We're going to add the Cosmos, which obviously is a renowned club. But yeah, down here in Chattanooga, it's actually owned by shareholders. So it's really cool seeing that side of things with the whole city behind us. We played in Oakland our first game, well, our only game, and they're kind of encompassing the whole city and in front of about 7,000 fans there. So yeah, it
Oh,
was
wow.
unbelievable. Yeah, no, it's a cool little league. Obviously, I hope it can start back up here soon, but yeah, I'm excited about it.
Yeah, what are they saying for you guys right now?
I'm really not sure. So it's under FIFA scheduling is how they're trying to do it. So we're doing it basically in a split season, fall and spring. And the way it's set up right now is this is technically the second half of the season in the spring, but Chattanooga just joined in this part of the season. And it was supposed to go through June. Obviously, it's getting late. So I'm not holding my breath at this point, which is kind of unfortunate, but kind of looking forward to what we might have going on this summer. I know there's talks about them trying to get some sort of tournament format or something, but obviously it changes every day with all this COVID stuff going on.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because every person or every league has kind of different ideas of how to handle it. So it'll be interesting what different leagues decide to do to try to make up games or what.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I saw that like Germany's supposedly starting second week of May, something like that.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting, like to see how they can do it. I feel like if there's one country that could pull it off, it'd be German Bundesliga. But like I said, it'll be interesting. With no fans, it's just obviously not the same.
Yeah, and I always wonder too, okay, you take the fans out, but one player gets it. The whole team has to quarantine for 2 weeks. So then do they forfeit their games or how do you make those up? Or there's so many unknowns.
Yeah, exactly. Like I know like we had talks that like whenever we start back up, they're going to do kind of extensive testing and do temperatures every morning when you walk in the training ground and all that kind of stuff. And obviously, like it's just kind of a hassle because you're in a tight group. So obviously, if one person gets it, it's just like a snowball effect.
Yeah, yeah. When you're breathing and sweating on everyone in a
Exactly.
training session, it's gonna
not
go
an
quick.
ideal situation.
All right, man. So to get us started, just talk a little bit about your youth career, where you grew up playing, how you decided where to go to university, what that process all looked like.
Yeah. So I grew up in the St. Louis area. Played for St. Louis Scott Gallagher, as most people do down there. So yeah, played for them basically my whole career, and then joined the academy system my junior year. And yeah, from there, just kind of was seen obviously in some showcases and whatnot. Went to 2 official visits, one to Loyola Chicago, where I ended up, and another one to Mercer University, which I actually committed to first. and was committed there for about a month, and then kind of looked more into things of what I wanted to do maybe after soccer, and ended up deciding Loyola was probably the best for me as far as like fit and everything. So yeah, ended up there. And actually, it's kind of small world. My club coach in the academy for Gallagher is now the president of Chattanooga, where I am right now.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah.
Small world.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you had a good high school career. I think 17 goals your senior season.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad.
Yeah, no, it was fun. I'm glad I didn't have to. You were the same way. We didn't have to choose between club and high school, because I mean I would have unfortunately had to have not played high school soccer, because I would have chose the club route just for my future. But oh man, high school was a blast, and we had so many fans at our games. Like
I get like for player development and stuff, the being in the club makes sense, but honestly, the memories from high school soccer
for
was
sure.
just incredible.
Yeah, like
So,
like for St. Louis, like our whole conference was all the all guys schools, like all the all guys private schools, and so we play every tournament. It would be the final between like one of our schools against each other, and then like that's how state was and everything. And so of course,
wow.
anytime we play each other, you have essentially everyone from both schools, and then all the other people that have come to watch. So like I played one game probably in front of 7,000 or so people. Like it's
Wow.
like just
In high school.
In high school, it was like that's St. Louis soccer in high school.
That's incredible. So you committed originally to Mercer and then you switched to Loyola. What was the phone call like telling the coach from Mercer that you were decommitting?
Awful. He was not happy. And honestly, it kind of made my decision easier that I was changing based on his mood. I know, and Brennan Ites, obviously, fantastic human being. That's who recruited me at Loyola. And I remember when I told him that I was going to Mercer, he was completely understanding. He's like, hey, like, we still have a spot for you. Like, and it was kind of cool, like, how nice he was about it. And he was just like, I still wish you the best. And then was there, and then kind of was just thinking things over. And Loyola, like I said, just seemed like a better fit. So changed my commitment, went there, made the phone call, and yeah, he was not happy. A whole bunch of stuff talking about commitments and breaking things and promises and all that, and just the demeanor of everything actually kind of put me at ease, because I was like, well, if this is kind of his true colors, I'm glad I'm not going here. And obviously it was the best decision I could have made, honestly, going to Loyola. It was great.
Yeah, I honestly I think for a coach in today's world, with how often players look to change even midway through university and all, not worth it to burn a bridge. Even though obviously you're upset, it's your recruit. You work hard to get. You never know.
Exactly.
So you end up going to Loyola. Talk a little bit about just like going in freshman year, because it's a big jump from high school to college, and just figuring out so much, even off the field stuff.
Mm-hmm. So actually, kind of funny story. So I remember I went in for captain's practice, and so that was about a week before we actually started preseason, and we actually ran our fitness test, which was we did 300-meter shuttles. So it was 25 yards, and I think we did 6 of them. And you had to get it under a minute with a minute rest, and that was our fitness test. And I remember we did them during captain's practice, and I like blew it away with flying colors. I think I averaged like 56 seconds or something like that. Like came in like fast, and because I was young and agile back then. And yeah, so we did that during captain's practice. But then when we actually had preseason and we did the fitness test, I have asthma, and I broke out in my first and only asthma attack during the fitness test after we did, I think, 3 of them. And they told us like beforehand that if you didn't pass, there was no way you were going to get any gear or train until you passed.
Oh, wow.
So, of course, freshman me, like with high expectations coming in, and that happens. Luckily for me, our trainer was standing there watching our captain's practice and saw me crush it, and went over to Eitz and the coaching staff and essentially told him, he's like, hey, obviously his first 3, he cruised through them, and he literally beat it easily a couple days ago. I witnessed it. So, yeah, I was lucky enough to be able to get considered a pass.
Oh, that's good. When Eitz was helping with Bridges in the summertime,
Mm-hmm.
I actually did that fitness with him one time at
It's
Olympic
deceiving,
Park.
man. It's
Oh my
deceiving.
goodness.
Yeah.
The first like 2 or 3 are like, oh, this is no problem. And then
Yeah. Once
very
you hit like that
quickly.
5th one, you're just like, what is this? We got another after this?
No, it's terrible. Okay, so you get your gear, you're on the team.
Yeah.
What's freshman year looking like? You getting a lot of playing time?
My freshman year, I started every game, and I actually led in scoring my freshman year with a whopping 3 goals. So we were very defensive-minded. And we went to the NCAA tournament that year. Unfortunately, lost to Bradley and Woj, who you were talking to earlier. So I'm always going to be salty about that. But yeah, no, it was good. I scored in my first ever collegiate game. It was at home. So we played against Drake University, and they have this thing, Hustle de Hoyne, every year. And it's literally all the freshman class. They have a big event for them, and they all walk because our field is about a mile from campus. And they all just walk to the field, have a huge celebration for all the incoming freshmen. It's always at our soccer.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So I'm coming in and, like, starting as a freshman. I have, like, my whole class, like, watching me. So the seniors are kind of, like, giving me crap. They're like, hey, just so you know, like, don't blow it in front of your whole class. Like, they'll know. Thanks, guys. And I remember we were playing Drake, and I actually scored to tie it up 1-1, I remember. And it was unreal. Like, the place was going nuts. I was on cloud 9. I was like, if this is how it's gonna be, I love life. Like,
if this is university, 4 years isn't enough.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, so you made a all newcomer team that year. So obviously a lot of success. The team had success.
Yeah.
Then talk about kind of your sophomore year, your junior year. Obviously your junior year you balled out. What's that like?
My sophomore year was a little different. We had some kind of issues throughout the team, whatever. I also had my position switched and wasn't really playing as much, but still led then in assists that year, which I guess make the most of it.
That's something.
Yeah. And then after that season, that's actually then Brendan got fired. And so obviously it was kind of a limbo period as to what was going to happen as far as the next coaching staff. And then we ended up hiring Neil Jones, who's currently there. And yeah, so that spring was obviously a lot different. And ultimately, though, I'm happy with what ended up turning up. I thought about transferring. Glad I didn't. But yeah, it ended up working out for the best. Like you said, my junior year, I ended up breaking out and had my highest goal scoring season. So yeah, good on that level. And then my senior year had decent stats, I guess. I think I had like 3 goals and 3 assists, 4 goals, 3 something like that. I don't know. But yeah, unfortunately though, for my senior season, I was coming off of I had like a kind of a complicated hernia surgery where it was like a hernia, but it also like kind of like ended up going into something else to where like I was out for the whole summer. So
wow.
I got the surgery on Easter of my junior year and literally rehabbed till almost about a couple weeks before preseason until I was finally able to like run again. So yeah, so that was kind of a little different, obviously. It took me a little bit to get going.
Couple weeks of running, and then all right, play a game every 3 days.
Exactly. And I remember the very first game too. I actually played like my whole senior year in a knee brace because like the very first game like ended up straining a ligament in my knee and like had a bad bone bruise. And of course, I'm not one to ever sit out anyway. But especially my senior year, there was no chance that I was sitting. So yeah, I would literally some games like limp onto the field, play 90 minutes, and then limp off of the field with ice. Like,
jeez. So when in this time, when did professional soccer kind of become the dream and maybe a realistic option?
So for me, actually, this is actually kind of crazy because my mom just found some things when she was cleaning and redoing the house like earlier this winter. But I literally said that I wanted to be a professional soccer player when I was in like second grade.
Oh, wow.
And she actually found, it was kind of cool. It was like a note that I had written. It was like, what do you want to be in the future? And it was literally, I was like, I want to be a professional soccer player, all this. That was like written out. I was like, I want to be a forward and score a lot of goals, like all this kind of stuff. And she had found it like sitting there. And I was like, my teacher at the time was just like, oh, like best of luck. Like, and then like, obviously this second grade kid in the middle of like where I lived is a really small town, like in southern Illinois, like outside of St. Louis. And like this kid saying this is just like, yeah, okay, good luck.
Keep dreaming.
And yeah, keep dreaming, kid. Like, but yeah, no. Once I guess my freshman year, when like I said, I had success, I was like, oh, it'd be kind of cool. Like, I think I could do it. And then really after my junior year, when I really broke out, I was like, I definitely think I can do it. And so yeah, that was when I fully made the decision. That's what I wanted to do, is play soccer professionally.
Yeah, I like that you found, the letter from back in the day. I think
yeah, she took a picture and sent it to me, so I have it saved on my phone. So it's it's awesome.
You have to send it to me.
For sure.
I'll post it on it. So then talk about, I think I like your story. I like how things play out. Not to spoiler alert, but it seems the way that you got into professional soccer is the 1 in a million, and the chance of not just them taking your money and sending you home.
Yeah.
So kind of talk through, you finish at university. Talk about how you get your first contract.
All right. So obviously the season ends in the winter-ish. And so teams for USL, MLS, all start up in the winter. And normally they start signing players around December, January. Preseason starts in February. So I kind of went to a couple like just open tryouts, because I still don't have an agent to this day. So just went to a couple open tryouts, and it was one of those deals where it's like, if I end up getting picked up and signed, I'll figure out the school aspect later, because this is what I want to do. But still, I was like, I really want to make sure I graduate, just in case like anything were to go wrong. So don't know if I could say that I was like fully like with it, like going in December, just because I was like a little bit worried at the same time, like with school. So nothing came of anything in December. So I ended up just staying. I actually trained with our Loyola team throughout the spring season that year, just to stay fit, train with our strength coach, and just graduated then in May. So then after May, I went to a trial for PSC. It's the kind of little agency that they do trips over to Scandinavia and whatnot. So I got on with them and took a tour over to Sweden and Norway. Played against a couple even first division sides over there. Had a couple goals, couple assists, like captained the squad, was looking really promising.
Yeah.
And then I got a concussion. Badly. The big Norwegian defender went up for a header, and he just undercut me and landed straight on my head. And it was not good. It was honestly, it was terrifying. So went home after that and was kind of out for about 6.5 weeks with my training staff back at school still. And I ended up getting a place then in Chicago with Andrew Raymonds. He was one of my good buddies I played with all through college. And so lived with him and actually worked at a bar in Old Town. It was called Woody's Flat, for anyone in the Chicago area.
Shout out Woody's.
Go check it out. Yeah, great place. So I did it all there, bar backed, bounced, like you name it, like did whatever I could to like make ends meet so I could stay in Chicago. And then I was working out still every day with our strength coach from Loyola, and then going to Bridges whenever I could get a ride, pretty much, because I didn't have a car. So then, I found myself literally just training at like empty fields. If it started snowing, I had a parking garage that was next to my apartment, and was training in the parking garage every day, getting touches, and was threatened to be arrested on multiple occasions for trespassing. So I didn't realize that a guy looked sketch just walking around with a ball and a water bottle, but apparently I did. But yeah, so I'd always
Apparently.
be in there just getting touches against the wall, like juggling, whatever you name it. Like, and security on multiple occasions had to chase me out. And so I'll never forget the last time I went in there. They actually had the police that were like kind of patrolling the area, and I was like, yeah, I got to get out of here. So, but yeah, that's the grind, honestly. So did that, and then went to essentially just a bunch of just open trials once that time came back around, which was tough because obviously weekends were my big money maker at work.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
anytime I missed, I would have to come back and work like double shifts and whatnot to try to then make my money back to stay living in Chicago.
The true grind, man. The true
Yeah,
grind.
it was rough. Like I would literally wake up about like 6 a.m., go work out with our strength coach, then go train at Bridges or whatnot, go eat, and then went straight to work till about 2:30 in the morning, and then had to do it all over again the next day. So yeah, that was almost about a year of my life until I finally got called in to preseason with Rio Grande Valley, who's in the USL. Was there for about a month in preseason, and they are paired with the Houston Dynamo, so they dropped down some Dynamo players and got a call in, said, yep, you're going home tomorrow. So,
the all too classic.
Yep. Everyone's heard it. That's tried to do it. So, yep, they told me literally pack your stuff. You're leaving tomorrow. So I didn't know what I was going to do. Luckily, my aunt lives in Houston. So the first flight I was able to get that was like a cheap flight was I just flew to Houston from there, stayed with her for a couple of days until I could kind of figure things out. And then I went home.
At this point, are you at all having any self-doubt that professional soccer is going to become a reality for you?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's almost the end of February, or I guess, no, I went in January. It was pretty early preseason because of their affiliation with MLS. So it's mid-February, I guess, at this point. And I'm not stupid. Even though I've never been in the business, I know how it works. Like, everyone's pretty much getting their rosters finalized. So I finally go home, and my mom is helping me out, playing agent for me, trying to figure out, like, oh, this roster still needs players, this needs this. And then I found Puerto Rico FC, who is a brand new club starting up in the NASL. They're owned by Carmelo Anthony, and they have a open tryout in IMG Academy down in Bradenton, Florida. So there's not, and NASL was split season, so they're not starting until the second half of the NASL season. So I remember looking and talking to my mom about this, and I was like, it's basically my last shot if I even want to play this year. Otherwise, like, 2 years removed, not looking promising at that point. So flew down to IMG, did really well. Actually, so at the time, I was actually trying to go as like a number 10 and sign as like a number 10.
Okay.
And yeah.
Switch it up with them.
Yeah. So I was down there as like a number 10 for the most part, was doing well. And I remember I went up for like a header or something and like landed, kind of tweaked my knee weird, and like went down, like went off to the side, trainer's checking it out. And in my head, I'm just like, there's no way I'm sitting out the rest of this. Like, it is day 2 of 3. I am not sitting out. So I went back in and I told one of the center backs, push up, I'm playing center back. Because I'm like, I'm going to play and I can like keep everything in front of me, and I'm just going to just try to just dictate the game so that I can control my movements and whatnot, and I'm not hurting myself.
Okay.
And did well. So the coach told me, he's like, have you ever played the 6 before? Of course, absolutely not. But I'm like, I can. I'm like, I told him, I was like, I have not, but I can. Like, we'll do it. So he goes, all right, well, if that's the case, we have the next 3 days, we're going to have all of our guys we invited in. Can you stay 3 more days? So I have to go. I'm on the phone with my parents, like trying to rearrange flights and like rooms and like all this stuff to like make sure I can stay another 3 days. And so ultimately I come back. I was like, it was one of those where I'm like, I'll do it. I just got to make it happen first. Like, I'll be here. So come back, like everything's sorted. We play like 2 friendlies against like some local clubs. I ended up scoring in one of them, playing as the 6, had an assist also, and just like did well. And they offered me on the spot. So yeah, my first contract was down in Puerto Rico and out of an open tryout. So yep.
Yeah, you mentioned Carmelo Anthony was the owner of the club at that point. You have any unique or cool interactions with him during your time?
Carmelo Anthony threw my 23rd birthday party. So yeah, unreal. Best birthday I've ever had in my life. So I turned 23 and made my pro debut, and it was the club's debut. And then he threw me a party at like the top club on the island. So yeah, it was awesome.
So you peaked at 23 years old.
100% peaked at 23. I was like, this is pro soccer. Like, let's go. Like,
it seems to be a reoccurring theme. First game of uni, you score a goal, then pro debut, party with Carmelo,
and then it's just to grind again. Then I get kicked back to reality.
Yeah, so you're with Puerto Rico for 2 years. It ends up folding.
Yeah.
And so you're looking for a new club. What's your process at that point? Now you've had a couple years of pro experience.
Yeah. So it was tough, man. So my first year, I played almost every game and started a handful down the stretch in like the center of the midfield. But I had played all over for them. I played on both wings. I played as an 8, 10, 6, and a 9. All my first year. Absolute utility player that year. Which is fine because I can do it. So if I can get on the field that way, I'm never going to complain.
Hey, minutes are minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Minutes are minutes. I'm never going to complain about that. So did that, and then my second year, our coach actually got fired really early in the season, and the guy who took over was just not a fan of the guys that had kind of been under the other coach's wing. They had very different philosophies, let's put it that way. And so, yeah, I played a total of 12 minutes that season, but had an assist in those 12 minutes, so made the most of that. And so, yeah, it made it a little tough, obviously, than the following year to find a new club. Luckily, I went down to Jacksonville Armada, who was also an NASL club, and went down there. I actually had my first coach in Puerto Rico give him a call, let him know that I was coming down there. And I actually went down to an open tryout down there as well, which, yeah, great. And went there. He, luckily the coach knew who I was, recognized me. And I was at the open tryout, but at the same time, he was like, can you stay in the afternoon and train with our first team? And so ended up staying for about a week and a half down there, just kind of on a trial basis with their team, and played in a couple friendlies. We played against DC United in a college team, I think, and did well, showed well. And so, yeah, ended up signing with Jacksonville, which was a very weird situation because obviously they were an NASL club and we were a professional club, but we ended up, because the NASL folded, playing in NPSL.
Yeah.
So played and trained the whole year from February on till I was there till November, because once the season ended, I was still there because I had my housing covered and I was coaching. So just down there for the whole time. So it was super bizarre, but ended up it was a great setup, great situation. But yeah, it was different. It was interesting, but I'm still grateful that I was able to still play and get paid. I'm never going to complain about that.
Yeah. At the end of the day, that's there's a lot worse things to have to deal with than getting paid to play soccer.
Exactly.
So that season ends. You decide to head back Midwest. Is this another open trial, or you finally decide no more?
This one was an invite trial. I finally made it. I finally had enough under my belt where I could just get an invite in, and so got invited in. Did that, did really well. Scored a handful of goals, and again they offered me pretty much on the spot. Then I met with them afterwards, and yeah, so it was in Madison then this past season with a couple guys you've had on this show already.
Yeah. What was your reaction the first year? Your experience the first year? It's a new club. I think there's amazing things that happen when it's a new club. There's also just a lot of figuring things out because you haven't experienced things, and now you've had two experience of starting clubs, both with Puerto Rico, then with
Right.
Madison. So what's that like?
So obviously there were hiccups, like especially with us as a brand new team. It was an old stadium that they were renovating, so obviously things weren't going to be 100% ready the moment we got there. It's just not possible, honestly. Especially there when it has blizzards every other week. It's pretty tough to get
Yeah.
outside and get going. Um, so I understood that there were always going to be hiccups. So basically, from that aspect, I didn't expect things to go smoothly. Obviously, they ended up going very smoothly, and
Mm-hmm.
the club had a great first season, and the fan support was unbelievable. Some of the best support I've ever been a part of and witnessed. So obviously that makes everything better. It makes the first year's transition so much easier when you have a full packed house, sold out game every single home game.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like a first year team then.
Yeah. And I heard they increased stadium seating for this year even more, I think.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah,
That's
I was
I think
not I
that's
was not aware of that.
I
That's
think
cool.
that's what Lenny was saying.
Okay, awesome.
So
Yeah.
a question with it that I just kind of wonder about because I've never been with just a first year club like that. Every club has its identity and kind of its way of doing things, but a first year club, you don't have that. So do you think it is the players that kind of create that identity, the coaching staff, the fans? How do you think that identity becomes a thing?
A little both. Obviously, a coach has a philosophy that he wants to implement, but the players ultimately have to buy in because they're the ones doing it on the field. And then furthering that even more, when you get the fans involved, you want to have something that they can be proud of as well because you don't just play for yourself and your team. It's ultimately that's what makes soccer so unique. It's a community sport. Like everyone rallies around it. The city's involved, especially in a place like that. The city was way behind it, backed us 100%. So that kind of all kind of goes together to basically encompass an identity. But yeah, it was cool. It was cool.
Yeah, I like you mentioned the aspect about the fans and all because some of the best words of advice I got when even talking about style of play as a coach when you're
Mm-hmm.
when you're going to a new club is one of my mentors said find out what the fans' identity, how they view it. Obviously, you have
Mm-hmm.
your core philosophy and beliefs, and that can't change. But at the end of the day, you're in the entertainment business, and so the
Yeah,
fans need to
exactly.
be entertained. Now, usually that happens by winning, but you
Right.
still need to play in a style in which that the people watching enjoy and want to come back and watch you, because otherwise, no money for playing.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. If you show up on and that's also one thing like at least for me that I can always like try to pride myself like especially when it comes to fans is just giving 100% all the time because no matter how the game ends up, obviously it's better if you win. But if you lose, but the fans can tell like they really gave everything for us, then ultimately they're pleased. It's better than like it's better to lose and give 100% saying, "Hey, I can't really do much more." Like soccer's a cruel game. Like you know how it
Hmm.
is. Like you could be
Yeah.
dominating a team and lose 1-0. It's just the sport. So if you can pride yourself saying, "Hey, I gave everything," and maybe the result didn't go our way, at least the fans can back that rather than, "All right, we lost, but I gave up." Like the
Yeah.
fans the fans notice that like they're not stupid. Fans aren't dumb. Like they can witness what's going on out there. Like they know.
Yeah, absolutely. So then tell me how do you end up in Chattanooga?
So kind of goes back to what I was saying with my old club coach. So Jeremy Allenball is the president down here, and I actually shot him a text kind of when he signed here, uh, congratulating him on that job, and also just kind of reaching out on my own behalf. And he was just like, "Yeah, absolutely, I'll forward your stuff to like our technical staff." And they gave me a call about a week later saying, "Hey, we're interested. Can you come down? We have like a handful of guys coming in on like a trial basis for a couple of days. Would you be able to make it?" And so packed my stuff up, drove down to Chattanooga, and yeah, showed well, and ultimately they ended up offering me a contract, which I went back and kind of just like thought about, played my options, and it seemed like the best fit for me. So yeah, couldn't be happier with my decision. Obviously, it's a bummer that we're kind of in the situation that we're in right now, because I couldn't have been more excited coming here this year. Just in the way things ended last year with me, and coming to a new club this year, it's always a fresh start. No matter where you end up in a new spot, it's a new start. And yeah, so I was excited. It's their first year being a pro club. They've got a storied history in the amateur ranks, a couple MPSL championships, and they hold the record for most fans in an amateur league. They've had 18,000 fans at games before, and yeah, it's unbelievable. And I was so excited to hear about that. I remember they sent me like a teaser video, kind of saying, "Hey, this is what you have to look forward to," and I got goosebumps watching it. It was so cool. They're playing against international clubs in front of 15,000 people, and I knew right then and there, between that and how the coach's philosophy was, how the city really embraces them, I was like, this is where I need to be this year.
Yeah, I love Chattanooga myself. I think it's beautiful. You've been up to Lookout Mountain?
I have. Yeah, I've gone on a few hikes this quarantine just to stay sane. Unfortunately, they've kind of closed some of the parks now, so it's a little bit tougher. But yeah, it's absolutely beautiful here.
What's your thoughts on Kyle Carr?
Great mustache.
Great stash.
Absolutely love that guy. Yeah, no, he's a good dude, great player. Yeah, no, it's
we were center back partners my senior year at university.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
I had no idea. Yeah, I'll have to bring that up to him.
Yeah, back when he was an incoming freshman, so a long time ago.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We've been talking a little bit in different interviews with people. Obviously, this is a unique time for players. It's the first time that players aren't training with a team. Everything's kind of on their own. If they're going to do it or not, or how they're going to improve is up to them ultimately. So we've been kind of calling it separation season. What have you done personally during this time to stay prepared, stay ready, and keep improving?
So for me, it's been tough. I'm a huge gym rat, so I love going to the gym. I worked at a gym this off season. Yeah, I live in there in my free time typically. So yeah, not having a gym, it sucks, honestly. But I've got like some bands and different equipment that I was able to use. Luckily for me, our apartment just reopened our gym for us, for like the guys that are here, and
Okay.
like obviously some of the residents as well. But so I've been able to go in there this past week because it opened last week. And although it's a small little apartment gym and it's not like the same, oh my God, just using weights again makes me so happy. You have no idea. So just been pretty much just doing that. We have home workouts that we're sent every week, and it's normally like between a lift or some sort of like body workout, muscular workouts, and then there's a fitness portion as well. So been doing that every day to make sure I stay fit. And then we actually have a sand volleyball court in our apartment complex. So play a lot of foot volley, which is
there you
the
go.
best. Yeah. Oh, it's my way of pretending I'm on the beach. I can get a tan. I can play some footy. It's great. So yeah, been doing that for the most part. That makes up most of my days playing soccer, and then started making TikToks a little bit.
I haven't gotten that bored yet. I might eventually.
It was like a span of like, I think it was like maybe the first week when there was truly uncertainty, and my roommate had left and gone home, and I was just sitting here, and like he had just introduced me to like TikTok maybe a week before he left, so I'm starting to watch it a little more frequently, and the next thing I know, I'm just like, these ideas start popping in my head, and I was like, you know what, I might as well try to make a video. I'm pretty bored. So yeah, that's started happening. I haven't made one in a while though.
Lenny likes
Lenny. Lenny, I'll make another one just for you, buddy.
I coach a high school team down in Florida during the off season when I'm back in the U.S. and they were constantly pushing me to make a TikTok. I kept being like, maybe you win tonight and I make one, you know?
That's so funny. See, I've stuck with originals, like original kind of ideas. I have not yet made a TikTok dance, although anything's possible.
Maybe that's what the people need at an uncertain
Exactly.
time like this.
Might as well. I just ordered an ocarina in the mail. It should be here any day. So
Okay.
if I start mastering that, who knows what will happen?
I I'll be checking the when you tweet out the TikToks. I'll be
for
checking
sure.
for it. All right, fun question. We've been asking all the guys from Bridges. For those who don't know, Bridges is off-season program that professionals train at to stay in shape, as well as college guys just graduating trying to make it to professional teams. So you're five-a-side plus a goalkeeper, no MLS players. What would it be?
So I've been trying to give this some thought. This is tough because, like I was telling you, it's been a couple years. I haven't been back in Bridges since after my first year playing. So that was the OG Blue Team, way back in the day. Oh yeah. So I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna put you on there.
Bold.
I'll put you on there. No, dude, we had some dubs. So I'll put you on there. I'll put Woj, Honest, Dave Abador, and Kaz. And goalie, I'll say my first pro roommate, Dave Meves.
Yeah. I was surprised. That's how I knew some of these Bridges guys were young, that his name wasn't coming up at all.
It had to be mentioned.
Because I remember back in the day when he was balling, man, he was saving everything.
Oh yeah.
Unreal.
Gotta put him in there. Yeah. He was my first professional roommate.
That's a different experience, I'm sure.
Yeah, showed me the ropes. I always tried to get him to go to the beach. He was not having it ever.
His skin tone isn't conducive to that much sunlight.
No, I would get him to go like he'd be like, I'll go for like 30-minute increment, and it would be like once every like 2 weeks, whereas I was there every day after training.
Incredible. So we talked a little bit about it, but you know, maybe even W the king of the open tryouts, because usually open tryouts, for those who don't know, teams often use them as just a money grab, and they say they'll bring in one or two into training, knowing full well they have no intention of signing them. But obviously, you've done it twice and gotten two contracts from it. Open tryouts are different in the sense that, you know, you are kind of pushing yourself onto the team, and invite trials, the coach is usually personally inviting a player. So what kind of have you learned through the process of open tryouts for yourself? What experience have you gained from that?
Basically, you just kind of have to bet on yourself, honestly, because when you go in there, everyone thinks that, oh, this is where I'm going to get signed. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go here. And honestly, like it sounds bad, but like a lot of the players that end up showing up really have no business being there. Especially open, like you'll see some guys and they'll be like, oh, I thought I'd give it a try, but I haven't played soccer in like 6 years. So it's like, well, what are you doing?
They're wearing their shin guards, over the
socks,
the outside of their socks.
Yep, with that whole ankle guard and everything. Yeah, so it's tough because you have obviously the balance of like the guys who are like me, who they don't have an agent, so that's the route they have to take. Or they just don't have contacts, and so that's the route they take. And then you have the mix of the guys who are just like, I'm just here just because, to see what happens. And so you have to still try to implement how to play when you have guys who can versus guys who can't necessarily play, and still try to look good. And I don't know, basically I just try to just outwork everybody, and I feel like that's kind of gotten my notice. That's just something I pride myself in. I mean, I'd be like, I'm not necessarily a Ronaldinho type, and I'm not scoring 40-yard banger goals, but like, in the type of guy who will get like a header, and the type of dude that will slide tackle and then head while I'm on the ground. So, yeah.
I like it. Hey, as I forget who we were talking to, but somebody earlier this week, the guys that are willing to work hard and put in the grind, a coach can always find a roster spot for a player like that. You only have so many, maybe call them artists, that are doing the real creative, beautiful stuff. But if you're not the number one at that, you're probably not on the team. So you need grinders around those to have a successful team. Anyways,
Yeah,
so.
and that's something that like you don't need. It doesn't need to be a natural ability. Like you can do it. It's just mental. Like you don't necessarily have to have skill to work. Well, you don't have to have skill to work hard. Obviously, skill helps, but if you just give 100, that 100%. That's just coming from right here.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Do you have any specific player that you would say you model your game after?
My favorite player is Jamie Vardy.
Okay.
100%.
I can see that. Hard-nosed.
Yep. Absolute underdog, hard-nosed. That teams have to hate playing against him, and that's what I pride myself in. I hope it is a successful game if the defender hates me. So yeah.
Do you do the same as, what was he doing, like 2 Red Bulls before every game?
I used to. That's the thing. So as soon as I saw that, I now just stick solely to coffee. I'll have way too much coffee on a game day because that's all I'll do. I'll just sit there and literally just drink coffee all day. So by the time the game starts, I'm just like, but like that's my personality anyway. So it just kind of just goes up. But yeah, I used to all through college, and then my first year, that's all I would drink was like Red Bulls and Monsters, and I'd put pre-workout in it sometimes.
Oh my God.
And then go play a game. Sometimes I'd re-up at halftime. And then I remember it was in between my first and second year in Puerto Rico, and I was honestly, it was when I was going to Bridges, and I was like waking up and just having a cup of coffee on the way to training, and was feeling good. And it was just basically when I came back that next preseason, was just like, I've been doing all of this without coffee. And I actually remember the first game that I played it was a preseason tournament, like an Island Cup, and I ended up having it again, another Monster, and did well. I think I scored that game, but then as soon as the game ended, I was literally, my heart was like racing 100 miles an hour because I hadn't had one in a while. And I went back, my trainer was giving me like hydration tablets and like electrolyte pills and all this. And yeah, I haven't touched one since. It's solely coffee. It's good for the soul.
That was like the same exact transition for me. My first year professionally, I was drinking Red Bull, and then I switched solely to coffee because
you can drink coffee forever and be okay.
It's gotten to the point now that like little kids at the game will ask me in Swedish, like, "Do you have your coffee?" Because they know how much I love it.
See, Swedish coffee, that's when I really got hooked, was that month that I was over on trial in Sweden and Norway. Because I would just go sit at a coffee shop with a book, and you just kept refilling. They would just keep refilling your cup. And I would sit there with I'm 6 cups deep at this point, sipping, reading my book. It's a nice day out because I was there in the summer. Oh, man, it's great time. Great coffee over there.
The crazy thing, too, is like in the U.S., you have like decaf coffee. So if you're having like dessert at night, they're like, "Oh, you want a cup of decaf?" It's like 11 o'clock at night, and they're like, let's just do regular, like dark, strong coffee.
Oh, of course. Yeah, it's great. So I literally went from there to having a lot of coffee to then I continued that trend as I was training before I signed in Puerto Rico. And then Puerto Rican coffee just hit different. Oh, man.
Oh, I'm
sure.
It was good. Incredible. Looking back for your career, you've had a lot of different experiences. What would be kind of the main takeaway or advice if you could tell yourself at 15 years old, give yourself some advice? What would that be?
That's a good question. I'd probably honestly say don't listen to anyone else. That's kind of a broad kind of overview of it. Basically just don't, when you hear no and you hear you can't do something, just ignore it. Because I know growing up for me, and I kind of play with the chip on my shoulder a little bit, just because I remember growing up, I was told like, oh, if you go here, you won't play. If you do this, you won't play. Heck, I remember in my hometown, actually, I went to like a little small private grade school, and usually you went from there to the small private high school in my hometown. And I and my cousins had gone there and played soccer there. My mom coached softball there, and people were just like, oh, he's going to go here and he's going to play soccer. And I was like, no, I'm going to go over to St. Louis to this private school instead, which was a lot more demanding, both soccer-wise, academically, all that, because I'm playing against guys who were all at bigger clubs and all that kind of stuff there. So I didn't make varsity until my junior year. And then I remember when I told people that I was going to go there, they're like, well, you probably won't ever play soccer there. Like, if you do, you'll be lucky to play your senior year. And then once I got there, then I was doing well. Then finally my junior year, senior year, and I had people on message boards, good old STL soccer message boards. And I remember there was this dude that for some reason just loved trash talking me. No idea who he was. And he was just like, you won't be good enough to be like a D2 player at most. Like, you probably won't do this, won't do this. I had that tab highlighted and saved on my laptop, and that I would look at every time I would go play or before I would go do something and be like, bet, like, all right, I'll show you that. Like, and then just other people just being like, you probably won't play here. I remember I had a college coach that I reached out to, and it was actually a team that we played in college and beat on a decently consistent basis. So I remember that coach telling me, like, you will never play here. Like, I just don't see you playing Division I soccer, all this. And I would just save all of it and just save it into like a little file. And that was my motivation. Just would read that and be like, all right, bet. And then the same thing when I was in college, the guys telling me, nah, pro soccer. Yeah, good joke. Like, and yeah, so basically, if my advice to my 15-year-old self and anyone who wants to play soccer is you listen to yourself first and foremost, because ultimately you control your destiny. Obviously, there's other aspects to it. You have to fit a system. You have to be seen, but you can control a lot of those factors. Like I did. I went to open tryouts. I sit in the off season because, like I said, I don't have an agent. I sit and I cold call clubs to just like, hey, this is what I've done, here you go. Like, I just network like in the off season just to try to get myself somewhere, and it's a grind. It kind of sucks, I'm not gonna lie, but in the end, when you have a season where you're getting paid to play soccer and that's your job, it makes it worth it, honestly.
Yeah, I used to joke. People would be like, oh, what do you do for a living? And I was like, obviously I'm a defender, so I said, I get paid to not let a ball touch a net. And people were like, wait, what? And I was like, yeah, people pay to come watch it. People are like, what?
Yeah. It's crazy, right?
But when you break it down to that, it's like it is a grind, and not to belittle that, but it is such a blessing to have the ability to play professionally and get paid for that. The other thing I like that you said too is just kind of talking about people saying you have to do this or you have to do that to be able to accomplish this. And I think most people, if you ask them, like, what's the route to professional soccer, they'd give you this like clean cut answer. And then you start talking to professional players themselves, and it's like very few was that actually the route. It's always all over the place, and you have no idea. And there isn't one perfect way to be successful and make a career out of it, which I think is encouraging to players who maybe, are at smaller schools or don't have a strong club in their area or can't afford to play somewhere. It's not you have to be in this club by this age or you have no chance.
Yeah, and as much as like U.S. Soccer tries to push that agenda, it's honestly not the case. Now, is it a lot easier to get seen there? Of course, like that's where the money is. That's where the scouts want to go see. But like I said, ultimately, like, you kind of control your destiny. And if you really, really want to do it, you go do it. Like, I make it sound like it's a simple thing, just go do it. But like, ultimately, like, yeah, you're in control of it.
Yeah, 100%. No, I really like that. As I said, I like your story. I think it's just like an an ultimate grinder story and kind of betting on yourself when maybe you weren't given chances and then proving it wrong. And, now you're entering your 5th year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's crazy to be now at your 5th year of professional soccer. So proud of you. Congrats, man.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Hope you guys get back to training soon. Anyways, back with Chattanooga FC in their inaugural professional season. But
it'll be fun.
I appreciate you taking time to do this interview.
Dude, thanks for having me, man. It's been too long. It's been too long.
Absolutely, man. Have a good day.
You too, buddy. I'll see
bye.
you.